very good Wednesday afternoon, or morning if you're on the West Coast. This is Steve with On the Ring Apron. I know this episode has been a little bit long time coming, I suppose, but welcome to the first of what is going to be a two-part post-Wrestlemania 40 plate exchange. As you're all aware, or those that are joining us for the very first time, this is the show where, I take our replica championship titles, similar to the one we have right here, and we get ahead copies of the plates very soon after the competitors do. And so we take the time to highlight what they're going to look like, because sometimes they're not always visible on the respective shows. So normally whenever there's a championship change, we take the time to come on the show here and talk about it, let everybody in the chat get a chance to get their thoughts in, and then of course get an opportunity to be able to show off what those new plates would look like to represent our respective champions within WWE and NXT. Of course, you can't talk about it right now without also bringing up the WWE draft. A lot of names staying where they are, switching brands, and also 8 names from NXT getting the call up, including former champion of the NXT title, Ilja Dragunov, and the NXT former women's champion, Lyra Valkyria, both being called up to Monday Night Raw. Congratulations to both of them. We met Lyra just a couple of months ago. She was absolutely fantastic to talk to and everything else. So we are just thrilled for the opportunity and are just absolutely front row seated to see how they're going to handle things. But welcome to my little fortress of solitude here. This is where when we raised money last week for cancer research childhood cancer research through Connor's Cure, through our mock WWE draft, we successfully raised up $1,500. This is where I represented NXT. Ultimately, the Mania Club, as well as the representatives of Connor's Cure, ultimately electing Smackdown as the best roster that came from that particular one. So congratulations to our now two-time OTRA champ, Alyssa. So we'll be seeing her a little bit later tonight, as this is the first, as I said, of 3 episodes today. A 2-part plate exchange. We're going to do NXT here in just a minute. I'll be back later on this afternoon to do the main roster. And then we also will be having top rope spoilers for Backlash France coming up this Saturday morning. Well, afternoon or morning, depending upon where you are in the country. But let's go ahead and get to it first. First, let's make sure the bills stay paid. This episode is brought to you by Chili's. I like their queso. It's all right, but it does gets the job done for someone who's had gastric sleeve surgery. So I can't eat a ton. So appetizers are absolutely my go-to, but they do wonderful work, and are of course have brought back the 3 for Me deal, adding some new things such as like the Big Smasher to it within the last week. So fantastic food there, and as always, Chili's, give us free stuff. But you'll be seeing them again a little bit later. But let's get to the action. We ultimately, since the start of WrestleMania weekend, which began with NXT Stand and Deliver earlier in the Saturday of Night 1, we have had 10 championship changes since then. So we've got a lot to go through. Ultimately, I can be able to do 7 of them between these 2 episodes. So first, I want to take a moment to highlight the championships that right now we don't have anything for. The first one is the NXT Tag Team Championships, which changed hands on the first NXT following WrestleMania weekend. Originally, the number 1 contenders were Nathan Frazer and Axiom, challenging the Wolf Dogs of Bron Breakker and Baron Corbin, who won the championship after successfully winning the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Axiom and Frazer were unsuccessful at winning at Stand and Deliver, and put basically their team cohesity on the line to get one more opportunity at the championships, understanding that if they did not win this particular match, they would no longer be able to tag ever again as long as they were in NXT. However, they were able to get the job done the second time, Frazer and Axiom winning the championships for the first time respectively each, also first time together as a team. And they have successfully defended their championships 2 more times since then, once against OTM, and then as of the time of this recording, they defended them successfully last night against AOP at Night 2 of Spring Breakin. So we currently have them holding the NXT tag titles. We do not have their plates yet because they don't even have their plates yet. And I believe it would be very disrespectful for us to be getting the first copies. But we are working on those, and once Frazer and Axiom's plates do become readily available, we will be, of course, putting them on the show. The other two titles that I can't do anything with, it's because we don't have them. Frankly, no one does. And those are the two new respective world titles for the tag team division on the main roster. The World Tag Team titles and the WWE Tag Team titles. These are replacing the Raw and Smackdown Tag Team Championships, respectively. The Raw titles were originally held, and the last champions will officially be the current champions of R-Truth and The Miz, also known as Awesome Truth. The WWE Tag Team Championships, formerly the SmackDown Tag titles, are currently in the hands of Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, Team A, Team Down Under. So, A-Town Down Under, excuse me. I can hear Kia on the other side of the thing getting ready to correct me if I don't make that change. And there we go. So, we want to make sure that, they're properly done. And, of course, for the first time in our show's history, entering our 5th year now, the tag titles for the main roster have side plates, and yes, they have the respective plates on them, as Grayson and Theory, of course, has won the United States Championship, so Theory already had plates. Grayson's been given his. The Miz has his. I believe Truth is the one person still waiting on his, but we do not have copies of these replica titles yet. We are working on it. It is going to happen, but with that, we do officially send our goodbyes to the Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Championships. A great run they had. We didn't see them very much during the Bloodline era, as the Usos kind of held on to those for quite some time. Very similar to a championship we're going to see later today, and that being the undisputed WWE Championship, currently in the hands of the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, but we'll be seeing him in the second afternoon episode. But we wanted to acknowledge the two new world titles for the tag team division on the main roster, and we will definitely be getting to those as soon as we can. But let's move on to a set of plates that we can do something about. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, this entire episode is about NXT. And the first championship we're going to bring up is the one I showed just a moment ago, and that is the NXT Women's Championship, which was the only title to change hands at Stand and Deliver. It was previously in the hands of Lyra Valkyria, as mentioned earlier, was drafted to Monday Night Raw in the draft earlier this week. But she was defeated at Stand and Deliver by longtime challenger and rival Roxanne Perez, who has been champion on our show before, and Roxanne, of course, winning the title about 2 years ago off of Mandy Rose, and has been clamoring for nearly a year to try to get her one-on-one championship rematch, and has since shown off a rather new dark side of Roxanne since then, and did what she needed to do, but was successful in winning by submission over Lyra Valkyria, who had an injured arm, to win her second NXT Women's title. You can count on one hand, I believe, the number of people who have won the NXT Women's title twice. You're talking about Kairi Sane, you're talking about Shayna Baszler, but there haven't been a lot of people who have successfully been able to win the title twice. So Roxanne joins a very elite list, and doing it at such a young age as well just makes it even more special to her, no doubts. One of my plates ended up going all the way to the ground, but let's go ahead and give one last look here at the Lyra Valkyria plates. Now, thanks to people like Becky Lynch last year, the reflection off my screen here is moving with it a little bit, but there we go. But ultimately, Becky Lynch's run through NXT last year shows that nothing's impossible, and even main roster competitors can have an opportunity to be able to try to come back and win the championship again at some point in the future. So it's not impossible that Lyra couldn't potentially come back and be able to have another chance. But right now is not her time, as she's definitely getting ready to bring her unique brand of wrestling to the red brand. And we will officially go ahead and swap her plates for our Roxanne Perez plates. We have seen these on 2 occasions before. They actually, Roxanne held for 2 weeks the NXT Women's Tag Titles when they were still in existence with Cora Jade before Jade's heel turn. And then, of course, for several months, she was the NXT Women's Champion 2 years ago. So it's been a little bit since we've seen Roxanne's plates on any of our title belts, but we do have an opportunity to put them on now. So, for those of you who have ever joined me before, you also know that I like to pose a question here for everybody, and let's start with, of course, Roxanne's heel turn, and that is, what are you currently feeling about Roxanne's heel turn? We want every opportunity to be able to see everybody in their light, and Roxanne was that one person that, you know, like a number of others, you're not sure if she can have a good heel run. I know that Bayley, for a long time when she was in NXT, was unable to be believed to have a heel side to her, and when all was said and done, she ended up having one of the best 6-year heel runs that WWE's women's division has seen, probably outside of someone, say, like Charlotte Flair. But ultimately, you now look at Roxanne Perez, who, you know, is not the biggest, not the strongest, not necessarily the fastest, but you look at her and she has that, she was always believed to have her best interest and her best value being, you know, her heart. But now it sounds like she's given that up for gold. And now that she has the championship, with this new mean streak, it is curious to see not only how long she can continue to keep ruling the NXT women's division, but also who would be the challenger who's going to be able to dethrone her, who is the next woman in NXT that's going to have a chance. And of course, you know, we can't mention the women's division in NXT without, of course, bringing up the fact that we are going to have a new championship starting very soon in NXT in a couple of weeks. The brand new NXT Women's North American Championship, which is going to debut at NXT Battleground from the UFC arena in Las Vegas. Here's hoping that they're going to have a replica copy selling there somewhere, because we've put our name on the media list and we're going to try to see if we can get there. I know the arena's not very large, so that one's going to be a little tricky for us, but we've put our name in the hat and we're going to try to see if we can make it there. And if so, of course, you know, my usual entrance videos and whatnot will be there. But the question is, will Roxanne Perez also be holding on to the championship at the time? And that gives me an opportunity to be able to show off our new championship here, as the NXT Women's title plate exchange is now official, with Roxanne Perez once again holding on to the NXT Women's title. So we will go ahead and place that over here to the side, and that is our first exchange completed. And the Lyra plates will return back into here. Perfect. And that moves us on to our second of, as I stated, 3 championships that we will be moving through this one. Let's discuss the other world title that changed hands over in NXT. This one was a couple of weeks later, after Stand and Deliver. It happened last week, as of the time of this recording, at week 1 of Spring Breakin', as the Mad Dragon, Ilja Dragunov, who was holding the NXT Championship, finally had his run come to the end at the hands of longtime rival and now possibly, respectable friend in Trick Williams. Ilja Dragunov originally winning the championship off of Trick's former friend Carmelo Hayes, and had himself a very solid run for several months. Looked almost unbeatable in most circumstances, although he certainly was pushed by a majority of the NXT roster. Ilja, of course, getting a major push from most of the roster because of his time in the UK, as you know, you can count on one hand the number of people who have beaten Gunther, also, you know, known then as Walter. So Dragunov, just by the nature of just that victory alone, has himself at quite a high level of praise. But similar to Lyra Valkyria, Ilja Dragunov losing the championship, but then being drafted to Monday Night Raw, so we will be curious to see how well the Mad Dragon is going to handle things on the Red brand, because the one unique thing about NXT is they are more of a developmental side. They're more of a, let's make sure we're getting our people right. And there are people who go to NXT that have years of experience, but they want them to learn things the WWE way. And now that you see people like Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and others in charge, you're now seeing that different perspective, even from veteran wrestlers such as a person like an Ilja Dragunov, taking advantage of that and now getting their blessings of being able to go directly up to the main roster with the right mindset. And of course, you're hopeful as a fan of NXT that he'll get the right push, he'll get the right storyline to get him off to a good start, with hopefully the build being that he will be able to be a successful competitor on the main roster. But we did mention that his title run did officially come to an end, so one last look at his Ilja Dragunov plates here. Second time that Dragunov actually held a championship, as he did hold the United Kingdom Championship for a little while, so you got to go back a lot of episodes to go back to find that one. But we did have those at one stage. And we now move to the new champion, and that is definitely the probably the most surprise NXT champion, I'd argue, of the last 5 years on the men's division, and that is Trick Williams. I don't think anybody doubted that Trick Williams would eventually win a championship here in NXT. Of course, he was the North American champion for 2 days, but unable to really do anything with that run, as he was immediately dethroned by the former champion Dominic Mysterio at the time. Trick Williams, in his third attempt to try to defeat Ilja Dragunov, with a little detour against his former friend Carmelo Hayes along the way, he puts his NXT career on the line at Spring Breakin and gets the job done to win the championship. So you look at a guy like Trick Williams, as I now pose this question to our audience. Of course, if you're watching the replay a little bit later on either Facebook or YouTube, of course, throw it in the comments, and just let the chatter happen. But, when Trick Williams first got to NXT, he was really known more as a mouthpiece. Carmelo Hayes didn't necessarily need one, but he was a successful hype guy. He was able to get people fired up for Carmelo Hayes' match, and a lot of people may arguably say that the reason why Carmelo Hayes got the push that he got all the way to being SmackDown's first draft pick this year, coming from NXT nonetheless, is because of the early work that Trick Williams did to get Carmelo the push that he got. Now he's not of course the first hype man per se, quote unquote, to go on to win a major championship. You look at people, say like The Miz, who was definitely a hype guy when everything first started, and he's now a multiple-time Grand Slam champion, let alone world champion. So you give it to him. You look at other people who were great on the mic and then later on became successful people. Of course, you can't mention a guy who's good on the mic and on in the ring without talking about people like John Cena, talking about people like CM Punk, just to name a few. So you look at someone like Trick Williams, who obviously is, he's got all the look, he's got the strength, the charisma, definitely the crowd backing. That's one of the louder crowds that we've had in a while when you're hearing those whoop that trick chants inside of the big arenas. So you look at his build, very similar to the way you see like LA Knight on the main roster right now, and you say, okay, how long can he carry it? And is he going to be able to carry the momentum once this push is done? Because you look at some people, example, Fandango, go back to 2011, who had a great 6-month run because the crowd demanded it. The crowd pushed for him, and he got a higher push than he was ever able to get on his own. But eventually, it faded, and he wasn't ever quite able to hit that same success level again. On the counter to that, though, a person who was sitting mid-card for years, and then the fans demanded it, pushed him to the top, and now he's arguably one of the best 5 to 10 wrestlers in the world, was Daniel Bryan, now Bryan Danielson. Everyone knew that the American Dragon was fantastic at what he was able to do, but it just seemed like he wasn't ever quite able to get over that mid-card hump until the fans demanded it. He won the World Championship off of John Cena At SummerSlam, of course, immediately got cashed in on by Randy Orton, and they ran the story all the way to WrestleMania 30 of him rebuilding his way against all odds and conquering the Authority to win the championship. So there's historical significance to both sides. Trick Williams has the look, he's got the crowd backing, he has the charisma, he's got the mic skills, he's got the ring appearance. The question is, once it fades, now that he has gotten to the mountaintop in NXT, once he's done, can he maintain it? And that'll be what we're going to find out here over the next several months, both as champion as well as post-champion. But the plate exchange now is official, and we show off the now Trick Williams championship title side plates for the NXT Championship. I will say I'm rather disappointed. I mean, Trick Williams even has a logo that has like the little lightning bolt that goes between the words Trick and Williams, and yet they just go with like generic Calibri Sands for his side plate. So I will say, honestly, WWE, I feel like this one may have been rushed a little, and honestly, I'm a little disappointed that they couldn't have given that one maybe just a hair more effort. Maybe let him wait another week, especially if you weren't going to have him competing at the second night of Spring Break, and you could have given him a week to give him something better. So, I really hope that's not what they're going to make him stick with. I'd like to see them maybe update those a little bit. But hey, I'm sure from Trick's perspective, I'm sure he's just thrilled to have the championship and to have the backing of, his bosses and his higher-ups in NXT. So that right now, those are all the championships that have changed hands in NXT. We are going to do one more title belt for this particular one, as we will hit our first of what has been 5 main roster titles that have changed hands since the start of WrestleMania weekend. The one we're going to do here in this episode is the only mid-card championship, the only non-world title, and that was the Intercontinental Championship, who was in the hands of the Ring General Gunther, who entered WrestleMania Night 2 with a 666-day streak as the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time historically, by surpassing the previous record by well over 100 days. But his run as the Intercontinental Champion finally ends at the hands of Sami Zayn at Night 2 of WrestleMania 40, and now Zayn is the one holding the championship, and he also has some new plates as well. So first, on our replica Intercontinental title, we are showing off Gunther's plates for the last time. Very similar to what I said with Roman Reigns when he won the Universal Championship. I've got a very, very good feeling that we're going to be seeing these plates again very, very soon on our show. So, you don't have to sit here and wonder, are we ever going to see them again? We obviously are. So, now, of course, Gunther already has his heart set right now on trying to go win King of the Ring, the tournament beginning here in the next week or so, with the culmination and the finals being held at King and Queen of the Ring, which will be held in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, towards the end of the month. And Gunther already throwing his name in the hat. We've also seen former King of the Rings, both Sheamus and Xavier Woods, also throwing their name in the hat. Woods, of course, the defending King of the Ring from a couple of years ago. On the women's side, the only person who has officially thrown their name in the hat so far is the reigning queen, and that is Zelina Vega, recently drafted to Raw. So Queen Zelina will attempt to try to retain her King of the Ring crown at Saudi Arabia, so we will see how that pans out. But now we're starting to see the breakup of Imperium. Giovanni Vinci getting booted from Imperium at the hands of Ludwig Kaiser, and it appears it was at the hands or the order of the Ring General. So the General getting his win, and ultimately booting Vinci from the group. Vinci ended up on Smackdown after the draft, so we're going to see if this new run on Monday Night Raw with only Gunther and Kaiser as the 2 members of Imperium, is there a potential for a third? There's been some discussion about a heel turn for maybe New Catch Republic. Of course, the call-up of Ilja Dragunov definitely opens the door for a possible UK reunion or possible European Union or something like that. But definitely some open opportunities there. But the one thing we can say is, at least for now, it is not going to involve the Intercontinental Championship, as that storyline has gone its own completely separate direction. And as we stated, the new champion was crowned at WrestleMania 40 Night 2, and that is Sami Zayn. So let me get those plates here. I'm trying to balance the belt here where it won't fall off our table. You're going to see it try to fold in there. But as we did state, we've seen Sami Zayn on the Intercontinental title before, but he does have new plates here. My camera's reversed, so I'm trying to spin them the right way while also trying to take some of this reflection out. There we go. There's a good look. But Sami using the new crisscross ribs, I guess, showing off his new kind of look and his new mentality. A lot of people thought it was going to be Chad Gable of Alpha Academy that was going to be the one to ultimately dethrone Gunther. Ultimately, Sami Zayn winning a gauntlet match to get that championship title shot against Gunther at WrestleMania. He was trained by Gable, ultimately won the championship, and then Gable just narrowly unsuccessful in his rematch attempt against Sami Zayn on Monday Night Raw a couple of weeks later. However, it caused him to finally snap, as he believes that he has played second fiddle to all of these wrestlers when he is a former U.S. Olympian, and has felt that he has put enough aside. He is pushing Alpha Academy now harder than they've ever been pushed before. It'll be curious to see how much longer Otis, Tozawa, and Maxine Dupree are going to be willing to put up with it, or will they stick with him? And obviously we also look at what lengths is Chad Gable going to be willing to go to finally claim his first singles championship in his almost 10-year career in WWE and NXT combined. Gable, though, also is not the only person that is pushing for the Intercontinental Championship, as it was declared that he didn't care if it was Gunther, if it was Sami, if it was Gable. He didn't care. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal champion from this year, Big Bronson Reed, has laid his claim to the Intercontinental Championship and ultimately gave it a fantastic attempt against Sami, coming up just a bit short, and has since laid out both Sami and Chad Gable without even hesitation, as he believes that he should be the person to be the next major Intercontinental Champion. Of course, you know, it's publicly known at this stage that he was supposed to get a chance, this being Bronson Reed, to win the World Heavyweight Championship at Elimination Chamber directly before WrestleMania. However, he gave up his title shot because of the birth of his firstborn child. So, you know, from one father to another, one, you know, person to another, that's absolutely the correct decision. Titles are going to come and go, but you only get one chance to be there to witness the birth of your children. So Bronson definitely making the correct choice, and it's good to see that he has not been unjustly punished or taken out of the picture because of it. If anything, he's being pushed even harder now than he was before. So I do think that H understands, and that they are making sure that he is getting the proper run. But speaking of the proper run, that completes our third and final plate exchange, as the title change or plate exchange is official, and Sami Zayn's new side plates now adorn our replica Intercontinental Championship belt. And we will see how long Sami is able to hold on to that, because he's got a lot of people gunning for him, and definitely has a good competitive fight on his hands forthcoming. But that goes ahead and brings an end to our first of what will be a two-part plate exchange. I obviously, like I said, have several more to go, 4 more to be specific, all of them being the 4 main World Championships off the main roster, all of them except for one changing hands at WrestleMania. So we will have an opportunity to be able to show off some new titles, as well as some new plates that we've never had on our show before. We've also got a couple of fan favorites that are also going to return onto our plates as well. So we definitely welcome everyone to join us. We're going to try to do that a little after 4 o'clock Eastern. So that's a couple of hours from now, so you can take yourself a little break, enjoy this. It gives me time to upload this one, finish my work shift, because I'm using my lunch break to do this. And then we'll be back. And then later this evening, Kia and Alyssa will be joining us as we will be doing our top rope spoilers for Backlash France coming up this Saturday afternoon. Also, we're in some discussion right now trying to work things out, but there is a possibility that a very small new show could be premiering soon. I'm hoping we're going to be able to have some more details on that coming up soon. Still trying to get all the finalizations and stuff together for that. So hopefully that's something that we can look forward to as well. But this is Steve with On the Ring Apron. For all of you who joined us for our WWE mock draft and helped us raise $1,500 towards the V Foundation and Connor's Cure, thank you so much for the support. I've seen likes, comments, thank yous, everything else from not just Mania Club, but from so many other people. We're happy to be a part of this fight, along with Mania Club, to fight childhood cancer. No child should have to go through this. Us being parents of multiple kids ourselves, that's something that we just flat out don't want to see. And hopefully this will be something that our efforts will ultimately prove to be fruitful in terms of being able to bring this horrible disease to an end, so we can be able to go back to living lives and also giving the families of those who are having to go through this the peace of mind. It's something that I will never claim to understand, but as a fellow parent, you have all the sympathy, love, and backing and support of the world. And whether it's your time, your money, or your energy, as represented by my TME jersey here from Mania Club, we definitely want to make sure that everyone is contributing to that fight. So that's it for right now. I will be back in about 2.5 hours, and we'll go ahead and get the second half done. But for now, see y'all later.